My name is Sofia Ramirez, I'm 14 years old, and I live in Guadalajara, Mexico. March 8. I died for 11 minutes when our car flipped 3 times on the highway to Zapopan. I was dying, and what Jesus showed me about social media will completely change your life and maybe even save your family. I was in the back seat of my mom's car watching TikTok, practically ignoring her as she drove to take me to volleyball practice. My younger brother, Diego, 10, was playing Free Fire on his phone next to me. The rain was falling so hard that my mom kept asking me to check the GPS on my phone because I couldn't see the road signs. I remember exactly what I was seeing, a 16-year-old influencer showing off her perfect morning routine, water with lemon, a workout in a private gym, an organic breakfast prepared by her personal chef, professional makeup. Everything was perfect, everything was filtered, everything was a lie, but I didn't know that. I was completely mesmerized then, swiping my finger up and down, consuming one fake life after another. Sofia, please help me with the directions, Mom begged for the 3rd time. Her voice was tense, preoccupied with the pouring rain. I murmured without looking up. I was irritated that she was interrupting my important time watching videos. I didn't help my mom by not looking up even once. That decision almost killed us all. The truck appeared out of nowhere. Mom yelled my name. Diego dropped his cell phone on the floorboards. My phone flew from my hands as our SUV spun violently across 3 lanes of the highway. I remember the deafening sound of twisting metal, of shattering glass, of the world turning upside down. The last sound I heard was my mom screaming, "Oh my God, my children!" Then nothing. But then I was floating above our car. I could see the ambulance's red and blue lights flashing like a macabre party, people running beneath me, their voices mingling in panic. The rain was still falling hard, but I couldn't feel it. I watched as the paramedics pulled my body from the twisted wreckage. My favorite volleyball uniform was torn and stained with blood. My face, which I had spent so many hours perfecting with filters and makeup, was covered in real blood. Mom was on her knees on the wet pavement, sprawling wildly, while a firefighter held her so she wouldn't run toward my lifeless body. "She's my baby, she's my little girl," she screamed over and over. Diego was already inside an ambulance, unconscious, with an oxygen mask covering his little one face. I tried, "Greta, Mom, I'm fine. I'm up here," but she couldn't hear me. No one could. That's when I saw something that made my blood run cold. Around the crash site, there were dark figures, shadows moving among the rescuers. They seemed content, even as if they'd been waiting for this moment. One of them looked directly at me and smiled. That smile had nothing human about it. Then everything became very bright. The ambulances, the road, Mom crying, the shadows, everything disappeared. I felt like I was being pulled through a tunnel of pure light. It wasn't scary, it was warm, like when you lie in a meadow in the sun on a perfect spring day. Every cell in my body, or what was left of it, did feel loved, accepted, whole. That was when I saw him. Jesus was standing there, and he looked nothing like the images in the catechism or the movies. He was, I don't even have words to describe his beauty. Light emanated from him as if he were the source of all light that had ever existed, but somehow I could still see his face clearly. His eyes looked straight through me, as if he knew every thought I'd ever had, every mean comment I'd ever posted, every TikTok video I'd ever watched, every lie I'd ever told myself. But even knowing all that, he loved me completely. When he smiled at me, I felt home, not really home like our home in Guadalajara, something infinitely deeper. Sofia said my name, and it sounded like all the beautiful music in the world playing at once. Her voice wasn't loud, but it filled everything, every space, every moment. When I started to cry, not tears, I don't know how to explain it, they were tears of recognition, as if I had finally found what I had always been searching for without knowing it. I felt all at once, all the love I had always wanted, all the peace I never knew I needed, all the acceptance I had been desperately swiping through apps for. I died. I asked him, even though I somehow already knew the answer. For a moment, he said with a smile that contained all the compassion in the universe, but first, I have something very important to show you, something that will change not only your life, but the lives of many others." He extended his perfect, radiant hand, and when I took it, we were suddenly in a completely different place. It felt like a gigantic room that stretched beyond what my eyes could see, with thousands upon thousands of screens floating in the air like digital stars. On each screen, I could see children and teenagers my age, some younger, some older, all staring at their cell phones, tablets, or computers. The scene repeated itself endlessly with heads bowed, fingers swiping, and empty eyes. "What is this?" I asked, feeling a strange chill in my soul. Jesus seemed profoundly sad, a sadness that seemed to carry the weight of the wordless. "This is what I see every day, Sophia. These are the children I love more than life itself, but they can no longer hear my voice calling them." As we walked through the endless room, I could see each individual screen more closely. It was like looking into a horrible mirror. Each screen showed someone exactly like you, hunched over their cell phone, scrolling endlessly, completely absorbed in a false reality. Their eyes looked glassy, empty, as if their souls had been partially drained. But what terrified me most was what I saw around each person. There were shadows, the same dark figures I had seen at the accident, constantly whispering in their faces. These weren't normal shadows. They were entities with vaguely human shapes, but completely malevolent, and they seemed to be feeding on something invisible coming out of each child. "What are those things?" I whispered, instinctively moving closer to Jesus. "These shadows are the enemy's workers," said Jesus in a voice that held both love and warning. "They speak lies through screens, every swipe, every like, every cruel comment or perfect image. They orchestrate it all to separate my children from me." He led me to a specific screen where a little girl who looked about my age was crying silently as she scrolled through Instagram. Around her neck was what looked like a heavy black metal chain, and at the end of it was her cell phone, glowing with an unnatural light. With every perfect photo I saw, with every comparison I made, the shadows added more links to the chain. I could see the chain growing heavier with each scroll, sinking her deeper into despair. "Her name is Kamla," Jesus said with infinite tenderness. "She believes she's worthless because she doesn't resemble the filtered images she sees. She spends 6 hours every day comparing herself to digital lies. The shadows whisper to her that she will never be enough, that no one will love her, that she is ugly, that she is alone." My stomach churned because I was exactly the same. I vividly remembered crying in my room because Valentina had posted photos of her quinceañera birthday party, to which I wasn't invited. I spent 3 hours that night torturing myself, watching the seemingly perfect lives of all my classmates, feeling increasingly smaller, more insignificant, more alone. Jesus gently touched the screen, and suddenly I could hear Kamilana's exact thoughts. "No one would care if I weren't here tomorrow. Look how happy everyone is, without me. I'm ugly, I'm stupid, I don't belong anywhere. Maybe it would be better if she just disappeared." "But that's not true," I exclaimed, feeling as if my heart would break, "and people would care. She's beautiful and valuable, you understand that now," Jesus said softly, "because you can see with my eyes, but she can't hear the truth about herself. The voices on the screens, fed by the enemy, have become too loud, they've drowned out my voice." We walked to another screen. A boy, about 12 years old, who looked so much like Diego that I almost screamed. He was playing an extremely violent game. His small hands moved frantically on the controller as on the screen. He killed, tortured, and destroyed again and again, with each virtual death. The shadows around him grew physically larger and darker. The boy looked pale and sickly, with deep purple circles under his eyes. He hasn't slept more than 4 hours a night for 3 years, his voice said, thick with pain. The games were specifically designed by engineers to make his brain crave them like a drug. His parents have no idea he plays until 3 a.m. every night. His natural capacity for empathy is being systematically destroyed. His anger is growing like a tumor. The shadows feed on his aggression. I immediately thought of Diego and how he threw the video game controller in my face last week when Mom asked him to turn off the game to come over for dinner. how he yelled words a 10-year-old should never know, how his eyes seemed different, lately harder, less innocent. Jesus continued to show me more and more screens, each one more disturbing than the last. Boys sending hateful and bullying messages to their classmates while the shadows applauded. 11 and 12-year-old girls taking sexualized photos of themselves to get the attention of strangers online. Teenagers watching pornography that completely distorted their understanding of love and relationships. Children cutting themselves after watching videos that romanticized self-harm. Everywhere, cell phones and tablets glowed like small portable prisons, and the chains round the children's necks grew heavier and more restrictive. Sophia, Jesus said, turning to me with an intensity that made me shiver. Do you know exactly how many hours of your precious life you have given to a screen? I shook my head, even though I was afraid of the answer. He gestured with his hand, and something that looked like a giant hourglass appeared, but instead of sand, it was filled with golden moments of my life, real moments, moments I could never, ever get back. I could watch each one like little movies, my grandmother desperately trying to tell me stories of her youth while I pretended to listen, but I was really watching YouTube. Hundreds of sunsets I missed because I was too busy taking selfies to post instead of experiencing real beauty. My dad trying to teach me how to play guitar, but I couldn't focus because I was thinking about my next post. Diego asking to play together, but I couldn't pause my endless scrolling on TikTok. 7,890 hours, Jesus said softly. That's exactly how much of your precious, replaceable life has been voluntarily given over to a screen in almost a full year of your existence on Earth. I quickly did the math in my head. Almost 8,000 hours, that was more than 300 full days, almost a whole year of my 14-year-old life, lost forever in a digital black hole. But everyone does it, I whispered, feeling completely ashamed and overwhelmed. My parents are also always on their phones. Is that normal? Yes, Jesus said with infinite sadness, and that, exactly, is why I'm showing you all of this, my dear Sophia. The enemy has found the perfect way to enter every home, every room, every young mind, without anyone, not even the most loving parents, realizing what's really happening. Parents give these devices to their children, believing they are protecting and connecting them, not understanding that they are delivering digital poison in small, but constantly addictive doses. Then, Jesus showed me something that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. He showed me hundreds of specific moments when he had desperately tried to talk me through. I was alone in my room, feeling sad or confused. Moments when I was walking to school and he wanted to whisper words of encouragement. Nights when I was lying in bed feeling unsure about my body, my future, my purpose, and he was there, waiting to comfort me and remind me of who I really was. But every time, literally every time, I would pick up my phone instead of staying silent with him. Every time, I would choose digital noise over his loving voice. Every time, I would reject his perfect peace for the addictive anxiety of social media. The enemy's greatest trick, said Jesus, it was convincing an entire generation that they are more connected than ever, when in reality they are more isolated, more alone, more disconnected from everything that truly matters than any generation in human history. Tears streamed down my face like rivers. I'm so sorry, I'm not knowing, I didn't understand what I was missing. Jesus wrapped me in his arms, and for a moment I felt the purest love I had ever experienced. That's exactly why you're seeing all of this, Sophia, because other young people like you need to understand the truth before it's too late. Then he showed me one more scene, and this one almost destroyed me emotionally. It was our living room, but completely different. My family was playing a Cribble board game, I think. There were no cell phones in sight anywhere. Everyone was laughing, talking, connecting. Diego was actually sitting on Dad's lap, helping him find words. Mom was comically cheating, and we were all laughing. Outside, it was raining exactly the same as the day of the accident, but inside, there was a warmth, a light, a connection I could almost touch. I could smell Mom's cinnamon cookies baking in the kitchen. This, Jesus said softly, it could have been exactly. Cell phones had been locked away in a box. My heart felt like it was physically breaking. I never realized how much real life, how many precious moments with the people I loved most, I had missed by staring at a cold screen. Sophia, Jesus said, taking my face in his hands, your time on earth is not over, you have an absolutely critical message to share with him, but I don't want to go back, I said honestly, I want to stay here with you forever. He smiled that smile that made me feel like the most loved person in the universe. I'm always, always with you, Sophia. In every moment, with every breath, but your family needs you desperately, and thousands of other young people urgently need to hear what you just saw. Will they really listen to me? I asked, suddenly feeling very small and young. Some will, he said with certainty, and those few are enough to begin to change the world. He touched my forehead with a hand radiating pure love, and suddenly I felt myself being pulled back, away from his perfect light, through the tunnel again, faster and faster, back to a world I now knew was in terrible danger. Then, intense physical pain, machines beeping aggressively, bright hospital lights hurting my eyes, voices shouting, he's back, we have a pulse, it's a miracle, I gasped desperately, searching for him. Of air, my chest burned as if I had swallowed liquid fire, my whole body was screaming in pain, I couldn't move my left leg, I had a breathing tube in my throat that made me feel as if I was drowning. The doctors called it an unexplained medical miracle. They said my heart had completely stopped for exactly 11 minutes. They said I should have severe and irreversible brain damage, but all my neurological tests came back completely normal. They had no scientific explanation for what had happened. Mom cried for 3 days, holding my hand and whispering prayers of thanks. Dad, who had been on a work trip to Mexico City, took the first flight back and absolutely refused to leave my hospital room. After arriving, Diego made me a card with his tiny hands that said, "The best sister in the world," even though I admit I've been pretty mean to him lately. When they finally removed my breathing tube after 2 days, the first thing I asked in my raspy voice was, "Where is my cell phone?" Mom seemed genuinely surprised by the question. My daughter was completely destroyed in the accident, and I started to cry, but not because I missed my cell phone. I cried because I was deeply relieved that it was gone forever. It took almost 3 weeks before I could finally tell my parents everything I had seen and experienced. At first, I was afraid they would think I had brain damage. After all, but something fundamental had changed in me, and they could see it clearly. My way of speaking was different, my priorities were completely different. The way I looked at them was different. The first night I came home from the hospital, I did something that completely surprised them. I asked everyone to please put their cell phones, tablets, and laptops in a large basket in the kitchen. Then, sitting in our living room, I told them every detail of what Anne had seen about Jesus, about endless screens, about malevolent shadows, about the precious moments of real life we lose when we choose the digital world over the real world. Popple, I had never seen him cry before, not even once in my life. That was a long time. Exactly 4 months ago. Our house, our family, our entire life is completely different. We now have a beautiful wooden box where all our devices are stored during sacred family time. It runs from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. every day and all day on Sundays. We started playing board games on Friday nights, and sometimes we laugh so hard the neighbors can probably hear us. Mom deleted Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok completely. Dad stopped bringing his work laptop home. Diego still plays video games, but on a strict timer and mostly games we can play together as a family. The hardest part was going back to school and telling my friends what I had experienced. Some honestly thought I was now very strange or had developed some kind of religious fanaticism. Some stopped spending time with me because I no longer spent recess watching TikTok and gossiping about influencers. That hurt a lot at first, but some really listened. My best friend Valeria deleted Snapchat and Instagram after I told her exactly what I had seen. She confessed that she had felt more anxious, more depressed, and more insecure lately, but couldn't figure out why. Now she's sleeping 3 hours more each night and says it feels like she's woken up from a very long, confusing dream. Her mother sent my mom a very emotional thank you text. I'm not going to lie, I still struggle with this sometimes. Those apps were specifically designed by some of the greatest minds in the world to create addiction. Sometimes I'll borrow mom's phone to check something quickly, and suddenly I find myself swiping automatically, without consciously realizing what I'm doing. Digital addiction is incredibly strong and real, but now I can immediately feel when it's happening. It's as if Jesus had opened my spiritual eyes to see the invisible chains forming. If you're seeing this right now, I want you to try something for just 24 hours, just one day. Put your phone in another room, really look at the people around you, look them in the eyes when they talk to you, hear their voices, their laughter, their sighs, feel the real sun on your face without taking a picture. You may be deeply surprised by what you hear in the silence, especially the still, gentle voice of someone who loves you more than you could ever imagine. Jesus told me something I'll never forget, Anne. The enemy can create absolutely nothing new. He can only take the beautiful things God made and distort them until they become destructive. It took our basic human need for real connection and turned it into something that paradoxically isolates us more than ever. It took our natural desire to be known, seen, and loved, and convinced us that likes, comments, and followers might fill that sacred void in our hearts, but they can't, and never will. That's a giant lie. I know some people won't believe my story, and that's completely fine, but if you're a parent watching, please, hear me with your heart. Your children desperately need you to be brave. Now they need you to set firm boundaries that they can't and won't set for themselves. They need you to create a sacred space in your home where God's loving voice can be louder than the constant noise of screens. And if you're my age or younger and you're watching this, please listen to this. You love them infinitely more than your follower count. The seemingly perfect, filtered lives you see online aren't real. They're carefully constructed lies. The shadows desperately want you to believe you're missing out on something amazing, but the truth is the exact opposite of real life, true life, the life that truly matters. It's happening right now, right around you, and Jesus is patiently trying to draw your attention to it. Maybe this video is one of the ways he's speaking to you right now. I don't have all the answers about life. I'm just a 14-year-old Mexican girl who died for 11 minutes and came back completely different, but I know without a doubt, what I saw, I know what I felt, and I know that we can't continue living like this as a generation, with our heads constantly bowed, our fingers endlessly scrolling, our hearts growing increasingly empty and anxious. Put away your phone for a day, lift your head, and look at the real world. He's waiting patiently to show you what truly matters, because the most important truth is that none of us know exactly how much time we have in this life, and I don't want to waste another second of my existence with digital shadows and cold screens when I could be living in the real light. Do you know deep in your heart that this message was meant specifically for you? Jesus is calling you right now to something much deeper, more real, more beautiful. Don't wait until it's too late to open your eyes to what really matters. My name is Sofia Ramirez. I died on March 8 at 4:23 p.m., and Jesus sent me back specifically to tell you this. Don't waste your life looking down. Lift your eyes. He's waiting for you.